Good morning, everybody. It's nice to connect with you again this month. If you are joining us for the first time, you're most welcome. This is the WAIC Network, a capacity building platform for women and postgraduate students in the built environment. WAIC is more like a support group where we help each other as we navigate our way through the academia. At WAIC, we provide free mentoring, collaboration opportunities, and most importantly, we meet online every month to learn and improve on what we do as teachers and as researchers. And at this time, I would like to crave the indulgence of our guest speaker as our speakers as we take the time to just celebrate the legacy of one of us who recently passed. I'm talking about Dr. Omoleye Eson Ojuri. She was a lecturer at the Bartlett School of Sustainable Construction at the University College London in UK. One of the most difficult questions to answer is the question why, particularly at a time like this. But we know that we may not understand why now, but we understand it by and by. And we are comforted by the truth that when we die in Christ, it is far better. It is actually gain. So, Doctor, we would really miss her a lot. We would greatly miss her. We will pray that the sweet comfort of the Holy Spirit would be a covering for her family at this time. And we pray that henceforth everyone shall fulfill their days, living out their lives to the fullest in good health and in sound mind. So we are here gathered here today for another insightful webinar. And the topic of today's webinar is Science Communication Beyond the Academic Borders. Science Communication Beyond the Academic Borders. And we have some amazing colleagues who will share from their wealth of experience and they will do justice to the topic. And in no particular order, we would like to acknowledge and welcome them in our midst today. We have Dr. Timothy Olawumi. He's from the School of Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment at Edinburgh Napier University in the UK. We'll have Maryam Batool. She's the founder of Young Researchers YouTube channel, University of Shawal in Pakistan. We also have Dr. Oluwaseun Ajayi from Harper Adams Business School, Harper Adams University in the UK. SARS, you are all welcome. We take this opportunity to celebrate you for all you do to advance teaching and research. Thank you for coming in spite of your very busy schedule. You were able to squeeze out time to oblige us. We are very grateful and we do not take that for granted. Thank you so very much for coming. And for the rest of you, I'm very happy every time I see you connect. It shows your commitment to learning and it is very inspiring. We look forward to your usual comments and questions at the end of the webinar. So at this time, we'll have Dr. Chioma put the welcome in context. Dr. Chioma, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. So, our very distinguished guests, colleagues, and researchers, good morning to you all. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Chioma Precious Ekwani, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar. For those that may be joining us for the first time, this webinar is brought to you by the Women Academics in Construction, also known as WAIC. At WAIC, our mission is very simple. It is to empower women academics and postgraduate students in the built environment through leadership, mentorship, and collaboration. And part of the thing we are doing today is to cultivate a community of scholars who are not just equipped to thrive in their careers, but are also driven to create real positive change in our communities. And today's topic actually speaks directly to our core value of impact that WAEC embodies. So our theme for today is science communication beyond academic borders. As academics, we spend months, sometimes years, poured into very rigorous research. We write, and our manuscript goes through some grueling, peer reviews, and then we successfully publish, sometimes in high-impact journals and conference proceedings. And in the academic circle, these are, achievements that are often celebrated as, huge milestones. But I think it's high time we paused and asked ourselves some critical questions. Who are the real or the true intended beneficiaries of our works? Is it just for our fellow researchers? Or is it the policymaker who is trying to figure out and draft some effective regulations? Could it also possibly be the everyday professional on the field, the site engineer, the contractor, or the communities that are directly affected by our findings? The reality is that while journals and conference proceedings are deeply appreciated within the academia, our most vital stakeholders are actually out there in the real world. And yet, complex, academic write-ups, often keeps these remarkable findings somehow trapped within the walls of research, and leaving the actual beneficiaries untouched by the solutions that we have found or preferred. So I think to mitigate these and possibly achieve high research impact, we must learn to step beyond the academic borders, because true research should not only be measured by the citation count alone, but it should be measured by the societal transformation it brings along with it. And that is why we must learn the science of communication, or the act of science communication, anyhow you want to put it. We need to identify and understand how to intentionally utilize, the non-academic channels to pass on the message to the people who really needs it. It may mean translating our data into policy briefs for the government, or writing some engaging industry articles, or even leveraging on digital media to reach the public. And knowing these channels and deploying them is no longer an option, actually. It has become a necessity if we want to boost our research visibility and also ensure that our work solves the real problems. Luckily for us, today we are joined by very incredible experts who will give us guide on how to break these barriers and ensure that our research findings are accessible, and maximize the reach to the real stakeholders. So, on this note, I want to encourage every one of us to listen actively, ask questions, and think about how these insights that we gain from today's webinar will be applied into your current research. So, thank you once again for joining the WAIC webinar today. And without further ado, let's dive into the session. Over to you, Dr. Pat.
Thank you, Dr. Choma, for your beautiful opening remark. Before we go into the lecture of today, we would like to take the bios of our speakers. So, Nonsembo, okay, I saw her a minute ago. It's fine, I can take it from here, no problem. Yes. The bio for Dr. Timothy Olawumi. Dr. Timothy Olawumi is an assistant professor at the School of Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment at Edinburgh, Napier University, United Kingdom. He's an RICS chartered member, a member of the Hong Kong Green Building Council, the Green Building Council of Nigeria, BEAM Africa, the Hong Kong Institute of Project Management, and a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. He also sits on the GBCN's Research and Development Board, as well as their Education and Knowledge Development team. Dr. Timothy's research interests include circular economy, construction management, green buildings, and sustainability, blockchain and AI in construction, BEAM, modular integrated construction and offsite construction, sustainable construction and informatics, construction supply chain management, and digital engineering. He has an excellent track record of highly cited peer-reviewed journals, research publications, and has authored over 75 papers, 5,100 plus citations, an H index of 34, I-10 index of 47, consisting of journal papers, 55 plus, book chapters 3, technical reports and conference papers, over 10 as of December 2025. He's a recipient of multiple prestigious and international awards in recognition of his outstanding contributions and sustained national and international acclaim. Dr. Olawumi is ranked among the world's top 2% most cited scientists by Elsevier BV and Stanford University. He is recognized as one of the top 25 outstanding scientists globally in the field of sustainability across disciplines by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research. Other awards received include KHK-IPM Project Management Achievement Awards in December 2022, the Research Project category, Research Excellence Award of the BEAM Africa Innovation Awards 2021 out of the 289 nominations received in November 2021. And awards from the Australian Institute of Building in 2019 and the Chartered Institute of Building CIOB Hong Kong in 2018. He is an active reviewer for 55 international and renowned journals, of which 43 are Sci indexed Poblons with over 250 verified reviews. He has also served as an external PhD examiner at top-ranked universities in Australia and South Africa. Dr. Timothy is dedicated to promoting public engagement with science and knowledge transfer within and beyond academic boundaries. He has extensive experience in professional development, leadership, learning, and talent development. You are welcome, sir. Maryam Batool. Maryam Batool is a gold medalist researcher in chemistry, specializing in environmental remediation, water treatment, and solution technologies, photocatalysis, bioabsorbent catalysts, and nanocomposites for sustainable pollutant removal. She has authored and co-authored 38 plus research publications and actively contributes to the global scientific community through editorial service, peer review, scientific leadership, and research mentorship. Her work focuses on developing innovative materials and technologies for the removal of dyes, heavy metals, turbidity, and microbial contaminants from water. As an ACS award-winning researcher, She has been recognized through the ACS Graduate Student and Postgraduate Scholars Recognition Program, the ACS Undergraduate Award for Excellence in Chemical Safety and Ethics, and Elsevier's Excellence in Reviewing Award. She has completed 500 plus peer reviews and currently serves as an editorial board member, scientific reviewer, ACS Society Committee Associate, ACS Division Representative, and chair of the social media team of Interpol. Beyond research, she is passionate about science communication, mentoring, and global outreach. She helped establish the inaugural ACS International Student Chapter at the University of Shawil and founded the Young Researchers Platform, providing research training and academic guidance to students worldwide. Her research interests include environmental remediation, water and wastewater treatment, absorption and photocatalysis, nanomaterials and polymer nanocomposites, sustainable materials, and environmental chemistry. You're welcome, Ma. Then we have Dr. Oluwaseun Ajayi. Dr. Oluwaseun Ajayi, a senior academic at Harper Advanced University, Pioneer X program lead at RE Department, London Metropolitan University, is a DAD scholar at the International Real Estate Business School, University of Regensburg in Germany. He is a guest editor in one of Springer's journal. He was a senior lecturer at the Department of Real Estate, Oxford Brookes University, United Kingdom. After an excellent stint as a lecturer and teaching assistant at the Department of Estate Management at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria, and the School of Construction Economics and Management, University of the Witwatersrand, South Africa, respectively. He is a senior fellow of the Advanced HE. He holds both second-class upper division honor degrees and Masters of Science degree in Estate Management from Obafemi Awolowo University, Nigeria. His master's degree by research focused on the appropriateness and suitability of facility management approaches for enhanced decision-making. Seun, a TED Fund scholar, had his PhD research focused on the performance of listed REITs on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, vis-a-vis the introduction of cutting-edge variables. Seun has lectured across a broad range of subject matters in real estate at both OAU and the VIT University. He continues to lecture and render tutoring services at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels and to a mix of student cohorts from different backgrounds. He has supervised and currently supervises at the Honors and Masters of Business Administration levels. Seun was appointed supervisor to MBA students at the WITS Business School in 2019. He sits on the Abraham Valuation Consult firm as board member in Lagos, Nigeria. He's the chief executive of the prop tech company called Shelter Property Limited, registered in Johannesburg. He's a registered estate surveyor and valuer in Nigeria. He has published in both local and international journals of repute. He attracted the prestigious 2025 IREBS grant, 2024 IPF Research Grant, 2019 prestigious DAD Research Grant. Other awards include Best Lecturer, Department of Estate, OAU, Tertiary Education Trust Fund from the Federal Government of Nigeria, and the IREBS Conference Grant, James Webb Foundation Award, Doctoral Completion Grant, IREBS, Best Paper Award, several Best Paper Awards, Oxford Brookes University Research Grant, James Webb Research Grant, International Travel Grant, and IREBS Research Grant. Dr. Oluwaseun Ajayi, you are also welcome. At this time, the floor is now open as we have our guest speaker take the floor. Dr. Timothy, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me this morning. It's the morning here in the UK. Thank you very much. And also thank you for the organizers for the kind invitation to be part of this webinar series. It's a privilege to speak to each and every one of us because we're not just only advancing knowledge. That's why we are here. We want to do so in a way that we affect lives in the society, in nations, and globally. And the field we are in is one of the most consequential sector of the economy anywhere in the world. In the world, talk about construction, talk about built environments. There's no country that can stand without benefiting from what we do uh, as academics, associations, or what have you. And today's section, our topics, which is on communication science beyond the academic border, sits at the intersection of two things I really care about, which is rigorous research and also making meaningful impact. The argument I would like to make is a very simple one. We do in our institutions, as I was mentioning, it's too important to stay within the academic boundaries, within the four walls of our universities, colleges, or what have you. And over the next 40 minutes, as has been given, we will explore what science communication really means first, and then why it really matters urgently for us. Probably by now, you have a lot of publications that you are really thinking that it's really useful, but are basically sitting in a library or in one journal or the other. So this will help you to bring it up from that archive and still make it sense and also make impact. You might be wondering, oh, this paper was published 5 years ago. Yes, it can still make an impact to people all around the world. So today we'll be looking at why science communication. I divided about 4 parts. Why science communication, and then we look at principles of effective science communication, and also how can we engage with external partners as your trusted voice. Yeah, you might be wondering, trusted voice, yes, because you still have to do your research, you still have to do teaching, but you should have somebody outside the border of your campus that will amplifying what you are doing, that want to hear, that want to help you pass it across to the outside world. Of course, you yourself, you'll be active in it, but they'll be more active because they sit in that outside boundary that you don't sit in. And then we look at women as science communicators. So there's a place for every academics, whether male or females, but as women, what can you do to actually bring your science to life? I mean, I said life because if it doesn't make impact beyond the write-up in papers, on pages of books, then it's basically dormant or dead. And then the floor will be open for any questions and answer. So I won't go through this. This has been mentioned earlier on. So we'll go to the first part of my presentation this very morning, and that is why science communication. And in this, we're looking at 4 aspects beyond journals to real-world impact. Why science must move beyond academia. So because if you don't know why it should move, then you just like, oh, well, let me just publish papers, let me get my promotions, and let me just it and move to something else. No. But when you say the reason that, oh, okay, it's beyond just having papers, but making a difference in the life of people out there, then your perspective on what your research does will change. And then we look at one research and many messages. One paper making several impact, several differences, and then what gets in the way. So that's what we're looking at in the first part of why science communication. And why should we move our science, our work, our research, the great works that probably some of them are even do for IPs, patent, or what have you. Why should we move it beyond the academia, beyond the awards, the recommendations from our universities, to really making a difference in the everyday people's life. And the number one reason is create. So I just did a survey, I just did an interview. It was just a PhD research. Oh, it's just a master's research. Oh, it's just a research for my supervised student. it has the potential, as long as a new knowledge is created via that research, it has the potential to create change. And that potential will only be realized when people beyond the academia understand and apply it. Because if they don't understand, will not be able to apply it. And you should think of science communication as a bridge beyond your research and its impact. It's not just publishing in journals, but how can you bring, okay, you have a findings, you have a conclusion, that is good. We talk about the research implication for knowledge, for industry. Yeah, that's just talk. How can you bridge it between all what you've written in that conclusion, in that journal, and then actually I've seen it making real impact. And there are various channels which I'm going to talk about later on. Presentations, we're going to conferences, especially conferences in which industry people comes to present. So sometimes you might need to be very choosy on the kind of conference we go to, not just conference whereby it's jurisdically academias talk to each other, but conference whereby you see industry people coming there to present their works, the project they did, and the innovative things they brought into the project that makes them to be successful in that project. So that will allow you to bridge your research and your impact. Media is also there, the TVs, the radio, the podcast, workshops. Sometimes it might not be presenting, it might use that as a means to probably doing the session breaks to discuss about your research with other people. Policy briefs, social media as academia should basically use to reach people who can act on our findings, not just when you are doing that will guide you in what kind of research you might want to do next. And different audiences, from policymakers, industry professionals, even to communities and even students would need different messages. The way you communicate to your students, the important thing is that you make it in a way that they understand it, it's clear to them, and also it's credible. You don't make up data so that they can just fit in with with what they want. As earlier mentioned, it creates knowledge, and that knowledge is quite meaningful. It's quite useful. And if you know that it's quite useful, then it's for you to now communicate it to those who can use it to transform the society or transform their own lives, probably like household and communities. Then I go to the next part in this first part, why science must move beyond academia. And whether your research is funded by external grant or not, whatever research you are doing is funded by the government or by your institutions, probably through your salaries. You do your research, probably don't get external funding for that, but at least you will be getting paid. And all this, or probably sometimes by NGOs, by professional bodies funding your research. Any research funded, whether by salaries or whatever, or external grant, carries an implicit promise that the knowledge it generates will ultimately deliver benefits beyond the walls of academia. And that's why they fund it. They are not funding it just for you to get promotions. They're funding it because they want it to transform the society. And your work, the research you do, is part of that promise. And if you publish your work in journals, it doesn't fulfill that promise. Yes, it doesn't fulfill it until that research, probably somebody else pick it up on that journal, or you yourself take it to the audience who will benefit from that research. That is when that research actually fulfills that promise, or that purpose for which it was funded or for which you are being paid a salary. And the moment somebody uses that research to make a better decision, design a safer building, or even the policymakers, for example, use that to shape a more effective policy, then that research that was funded, no matter the way, have now achieved its promise. And then that is one of the reasons why our science must move beyond the academia. Number two is that the quality of our research is not based on how many papers are published or even the number of citations it has gotten. No, of course, academia will pride ourselves in that, we have been cited by this and that. But most importantly, we can only get the maximum research quality from our research when it actually makes a positive change in society, in the lives of people, in the lives of communities, in the lives of anyone. It might be just if it's just one person that pick up the research or you complete the research to, and it makes meaningful impact, whether socially, economically, or environmentally, then you have fulfilled that promise. And when you complete your research or work beyond academia, you also help to bridge the gap between the knowledge and the action, making everyone to be able to use that research to solve real world problems. Sometimes you see some research and you're like, this research has been on the table for years, but no one uses it. No, we talk about AI, for example. AI, one of the main framework behind AI has been developed since the 1980s, but it was just in the books. And somebody pick it up and start using it. And now see everybody using AI today. AI is not new. It was not a new technology. But the everything about it, the framework behind it, has been developed many years ago. And somebody pick it up and say, okay, let us use it for generating text and what have you. And then from that, we use it for other purposes. That is communicating our research, dusting our papers from the journals, from the libraries, and using it to transform the society. And of course, within our traditional academics environment, we have what I call the world gardens. In academia, if you want to publish in top journals, for example, if you just use simple words, some some reviewers or editors may not allow your papers to be accepted. They tell you, oh, it's too simple, it doesn't use the technical terms, terminologies, and what have you. And even sometimes after you publish the work, you yourself, if your investor don't have access, you might not even have access to the paper. You have to pay to even download your own work. And sometimes it takes time between when you actually complete the research, go through the process of review, sometimes 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, sometimes maybe longer than that. And then the period between when you actually do the research and when it was published, it can make impact, but it was line follow, in the desktop of reviewers, editors. And also, one of the barriers also in our institutions, in the incentive structures, reward citations, publications, and even in some African countries, sole authorship. And all these world gardens keep our research from the people that really need it most. Imagine that paper that you are busy reviewing, doing revision upon, because reviewers ask for it. If you have spoken about it in a short video, in a podcast, post about it on LinkedIn, do a workshop about it, and suddenly making impacts rather than waiting for one viewer to approve it for publication. That is science communication. Although nowadays, there's some websites that allow you to submit preprint of your work, but still that does the work than bringing the work to those who that work will have impact on. So you have to consider, as you reflect on your work, what social barriers is limiting your communication efforts? The non-publication period, restricted access, the technical languages that you use because you want to get work published in top journals, or probably your institution does not reward that, probably for promotion or for any awards or what have you. The reward is from paper citations and what have you. What limits your work? What are the social barriers that limit your communication effort? And if you recognize that barriers, then you're able to take steps, as I later mentioned, to increase your reach and overcome such barriers. So the next one is knowing our audience. How can we use one research to generate many messages? And the first thing before you communicate is to define or be clear about who your audience is. And most times when we write a research, everybody wants to talk about, oh, my research will have impact on policymakers. Not all research will have impact on policymakers. Not all research will have impact on practitioners. Sometimes the research will only have impact on everyday people. So be clear on who your audience is. Don't try to fake it and just put everybody, policymakers, students, academics, and just pad it up and then say, oh, I want to get it published. No, be clear on who your audience is and use that without having that purpose in mind, then you're able to get the right outcome from those audiences. Of course, your research may remain the same even after this seminar, after this webinar, but the way you communicate it should change. The research will remain the same, probably the research interest what have you, but the way you communicate it should change depending on who you are speaking to. You should begin by identifying your audience, as I've earlier mentioned, understand what they already know, and decide what decision or action you want to influence. Okay, they know about the software, this is how they use it. That's good. So from your research, what do you want them to know? So when you are presenting to them, to such people, you will tell them about what they know. You will tell them about what they don't know, or probably what they know, how they can do it better. Because they don't have that time for you. So you focus on what actions or they are currently doing or decisions they are currently making that you want to influence. For example, a policymaker is looking for practical recommendations. And the question they will be asking you is, what should we do? Okay, you have spoken, tell us about how you do. What should we do? So when you have a chance to speak with them, you will go straight to the point of what they need to do. An engineer, professional, project manager, you want to understand how the findings you have gotten from your research can be applied. And the question they'll be asking you is, how does this work in practice? Because there's always the argument of the research and the application in the industry. So you must be very clear on how they can make it work in practice. Sometimes you might have to discuss with them even before you present with them. Okay, what are you doing? And then when you have the chance to now speak to them directly about your research, you're able to direct it to what they do and how it can help them in practice. Communities, households, society, they want to know how the research will affect their lives. Will it reduce their living expenses, make them have better health? How does it affect me? That's the thing they'll be asking you. Okay, you have said all this, and what next? How does it affect me? And even your students, because sometimes as academics, we bring our research to the class, we use that to fleshing up our stations. Your students need explanation that support learning. You won't be speaking to them as you are speaking to professionals, because although they be graduate to become a professional, but they are not yet a professional. So your research will be tailored, the question to them will be tailored in a way that will help them to support their learning. And that's why you need to understand these three questions about your audience. Who are they? What do they already know? And what action through my research do I want to influence? So once you have this question in mind, then you'll be able to shape the message for that audience. And sometimes you might find yourself in a conference whereby you have various kind of audiences. You can have different slides that will be direct to each of those audiences so that they will know what they need to do. So that one set of audience will feel, okay, I don't waste my time listening to this researcher, and one was like, oh, I wasted my time listening to him because they didn't gain anything. So you need to know who your audience are, what do they already know, and what action do you want to influence based on what they do. So as academics, basically we are trained to communicate with peer reviewers, even from undergrad, masters, PhD. Most times, you do a write-up, you send it to internal examiners, external examiners. Even when you start publishing papers, you do reviewers. You want to go for promotion, you do reviewers. Everything just reviewers. So we are just trying to talk with peers. But reaching all the sets of people, policymakers, professionals, practitioners, communities, households, and the public in general requires a different approach. And this approach is one that leads with the problem. What is the problem? What is the problem that your research is solving? There are many problems, but which one is your research solving? And then which one did it eventually solve? They require less of the methodology. Oh, I did a survey, I gathered responses. Academics might be interested in that because probably they might want to replicate your study in a different context. But outside there, they they are not researchers. That may not be of interest to them. So focus on the problem that currently exists, the problem that your research is tailored to solve. So don't overstate your results trying to make it feel as if your research has solved all their problems. No, your research cannot solve all their problems. So be specific on which problem your research solved and how it solved it, and dealt less on methodology. If doing the questions and they ask you about, okay, how do you solve it? What was it? Experiment? Was it research or what have you? Then you might want to bottle some methodology, but don't discuss that with them. So, and also communicate with honesty. As I earlier mentioned, not overstate your result. Don't make it sound as if you have done something you didn't actually do doing your research. And using clear language helps to build trust and also help them to engage with you beyond that period you have with them to communicate your research. And the last one in this part is what gets in the way in our science communication. I've mentioned some of them, like technical languages, some of the other word gardens I mentioned, institutions focusing on citations, and what have you. And these barriers are really real. So that's why I mentioned that you need to understand and recognize it. Otherwise, you might not be able to overcome it. Another barriers is, as I mentioned, technical language. Most times, as I mentioned in our papers, we use technical language not to get it across the publication lines. And this does not suit non-specialist audiences. And if you have someone is writing on the screen, probably clear the screen. If you have probably applied for grant before, they will tell you to write a summary on an abstract that is useful or that any non-specialist audience, not technical audience can understand. No, if they can ask that for research for grant, you should understand that if you want your paper to be published, of course, you publish it in technical language. You can find a way to rewrite it, probably in for newspapers, tell them about what your research does, or even LinkedIn, write about it, or podcast, or what have you, which actually mentioned. Other barriers is our institutions. Some institutions does not reward public engagement. You go out there, you interact with the people, with charities, with industry, and then to get your work, actually working with them. Most institutions focus on what benefit them, or get grants, you win awards, you write papers. It benefits them, so they tend to reward that. So these are some of the barriers. And sometimes we ourselves have that concern that our work might be less credible if we, you write it, for example, or put in a podcast or use simple languages. And this last concern is what addressing directly, because when you communicate your research, it doesn't dilute your research. Rather, it helps to preserve its accuracy and make it relevant and useful to people who are in position to apply it. So we should not think that, oh, if I write my work in a podcast, in a editorial note, or what have you, to dilute it. No, it won't dilute it. It will help people to adopt it. It will help people to want to ask more questions about your research, want to meet with you, want to communicate with you, want to send you messages and what have you, and that really help you think of life beyond publications and citations to really make an impact in the world. Because after we publish our citations, you retire at a point. The question is, what will you be known for? Not everybody will know, will go and read your publication. But if your work has make impact in the lives of people, they're like, oh, the work of this researcher, he was working in this university at that time. That is what lasts, not publications. Publication will last, but nobody, after some years, even you see some, even research, basically, to tell your students, oh, don't cite work that published more than 20 years ago, unless if they are talking about historical work. That means if after 20 years of you publishing your research, for example, nobody's citing it again because it's very old and losing impact. But something that changed someone's life, the person will never forget it, even if it's more than 20 years ago. So that's why we need to move our research beyond the boundary of the academia. So the part 2 will talk about the principles of effective science communication. And in this, I'll be talking about the 3 C's, talking about storytelling and the so what message, and how we can reach the right audience in the right way. So the 3 C's are the clear, credible, and concise. Your message must be clear. Use plain language, relatable examples. In fact, in my publications for the past 2-3 years, I try to put instances when I try to write my findings or conclusion. Okay, I try to give an instance of how this research can be applied. That is, okay, for instance, if for example, in this project, this and this, I try to put a scenario so that whoever is reading it to be able to see it beyond the papers, to relate to it as if it's happening in real life. So use plain language, relatable examples, scenarios, virtual aids to help your audience understand complex ideas. I've been doing that even in my publication, to put instant scenarios on how the work can actually make impact. Rather than saying it will make impact, I'll give scenarios on how it can make impact. So, and then you only introduce technical terms only when they add value. If it doesn't add value, you don't introduce technical terms. So, for example, you are writing or you are speaking to them and you are saying anthropogenic climate adaptation strategies, blah, 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 blah. They'll be lost because they're like, anthropogenic. If those who know the spelling, will Google it. Those who know the spelling, like ant. What is ant with climate? No. But if you tell them that our communities can prepare for changing climate conditions, you are bring the message to them, brought the message home to them, rather than making them to be Googling or typing, oh, what does it mean by this big language? So 1 or 2, and also be concise as well. You might have a lot of minutes, but be clear on 2 or 3 key messages you want them to take home along, or what you want them to action on. Leave your audience with something more memorable, and also be open about what your evidence supports. Don't overstate your result or what it can solve, and tell them it can solve it. No, and tell them what remains uncertain and what you still do further research upon. As I've earlier mentioned, never overstate your results. Don't make exaggerated claims. Your credibility grows when you communicate with honesty, balance, and scientific integrity. Your audience, they might even forgive you if you make big grammars. They're like, oh, academia is making big grammars. But they not forgive you if they feel misled that you overstate your results. They will not forgive you. No, but they might forgive you if you make big languages, big grammars might forgive you. But if you overestimate or mislead them, you have lost your credibility and they will never get across to you again. So be very careful. Then the art of storytelling. As I've earlier mentioned, we should focus on methodology, and also even in discussing our findings, we should focus less on statistics as well. Of course, we might show them some statistics, But our audience will likely remember a story, images, illustrations that you make than a collection of statistics. So try to use real examples, and if you don't have real examples, use up close scenarios that they can relate with to bring your research to life. So data convince, but stories inspires them to make necessary action. And then also, you should try to always answer the so what question. Explain to them why your research matters. Why should they listen to you? Why should they apply your research? And also, who will benefit? Okay, you might have various findings. Okay, but this one is for you. This part of this audience. So, policymaker, this one is for you. Academia, this for you. Also, this for you. Let them know who benefit and what should they do next. And if you are there probably to support them, let them know. Structure your message around the problem and then give them evidence of how your research solved the problem, the solution, and then the likely impacts if they take up your research and implement it. And then a clear call to action. Tell them what should happen next. If you are available to support them, what have you, let them know. And when you present, start with people, not with data. Tell them relatable challenges they are facing, or probably the city they are living is facing, and how that will be changed or will be affected if they implement your research. So try to make your research more relatable to them and easier for them to connect with. And remember, don't load them with statistics, survey results, or what have you. Don't load them with that. Load them with what they actually need to impact in their work. Then, reaching the right audience in the right way. And one of the things we hardly use or underuse as researchers, as academics, is virtual communications. In fact, as editor, if I don't see a table or figure, in fact, especially if a figure in a work, I find it difficult to accept that paper because a figure can say a lot than paragraphs of text. So try to, even your papers, try to include a figure or table. Even your table should be light weighted, not too much text. When the table is like too much text, more like a paragraph. Well-designed infographics, a short explainer video, probably on YouTube or all these social media, can better reach those practitioners, policymakers, and even communities in a way that your journal article cannot. So try to choosing the right platform is as important as choosing the right message. And talk about the platforms, I make a note of some of the platforms that can be quite useful for different type of infographics that we want to use in our research, whether we want to use diagrams, videos, photos, what have you. So choosing the communication channel that best suits your audience is very, very important as the message you want to pass across to that audience. So for example, for industry professionals, they are quite there on LinkedIn. They are always there in speedy sessions because their original bodies always tell them go for CPDs and then at least maybe 20 hours a year or what have you. And a lot of publications from all these professional bodies like RIS, CIOB, ICE, and what have you. They are publications that reach the industry. So you can write in those publications, to reach out to those set of people. Policymakers, policy briefs, 1 or 2 pages, webinars, some of them do attend, and there are quite many on Twitter or X, whatever name you are used to calling it. The general public, YouTube, blogs, and other social media, Facebook, TikTok, using such short videos is there to reach out to them. You can see the same message in different formats to reach different set of people. Then for founders, for your fellow academics, research gates, podcasts, conferences are there for us to reach out to them. And rather than trying to be active everywhere, like, oh, should I be on LinkedIn, YouTube, ResearchGate, and all this? Just focus on one or two platforms where your audience are usually engaged. Probably your work is not usually for households. Probably it's more for policymakers and industry people. Then just focus on one or two channels that they are more in and do it well. Consistent and high quality communication to this set of people is more important than just being in every place at every time. Give them quality information about your research and do that regularly. They want to know more about your research than you ever think of. Then the next aspect, communicating with the media. Just briefly, I will just focus on that, and also how we can engage with industry and communities. So the media and the policy audiences represent two of the highest impact channels available to us, because the media themselves, they have a lot of people who watch them, who listen to them. The policy makers, if our work impact or are able to convince them, then that means our work will just impact the whole society at once. Rather than trying to impact one or two households, by convincing the policymakers that your work is meaningful for the society and they accept it, then you have reached everybody. So they represent two of the highest impact channels available to us as construction researchers. However, we are less prepared for them. Journalists, they are not looking for literature reviews. They are looking for a story with a clear human stake. And they will ask you a question. The question is, why does this matter? Why should I talk about this on my TV channel? Why should I talk about it on my radio channel? The little hours I have, why should I talk about your research? Why does it matter? And you've been able to deliver this in a concise way will open doors for you beyond what conference papers can do for you. And policymakers, they have a different need. They want a concise, evidence-based recommendation that they can act on. And for example, in construction, if you can give them evidence that, okay, this my research can help shape safety standards, can help shape how we construct our buildings, our building regulations, and what have you, they will be ready to take it up. And sometimes some of this, for example, in the UK here, I do consult with what we call the British Standard Institution, BSI. A set of standards for what we do, various things we do in the UK, and those things that relate to my kind of work. I provide comment on the standard before it is published. So this is a way for I to contribute to society. I'm not be able to carry my research to everybody in the UK, but by commenting that, okay, this standard can be revised, this one should be made clear, this one should be added to the standard before it's published. I've done my own contribution. And once that standard is now published and it's now being adopted by the government and the industry, indirectly, I've combined my work with other people's work to shape what things have been done in the UK. So these are ways in which we can make an impact beyond publication, and also being able to present our findings in accessible format is very much important. And also always start with the conclusion, with the key message, because your key messages are always your conclusion. Support it with your strong evidence. That's for the policymakers. Start with the key message, which is your conclusion. Support with your strong evidence, because they need evidence. Why should because if they later make any policy recommendation to the politicians, you must tell them why this route is the best. So they might need a little more statistics than practitioners, than everyday people. They need a little more statistics. So you can see how our messages differs from one audience to another. So, and this can also help you or help them also turn your research to inform decisions. And then talk about industries and communities. They too can also help you communicate your research, or help you transform your research to things that can make impact in the sector to which your research is directed. You can work with them, partner with them. Probably you apply for grant, you can partner with them, discuss with them. Okay, I want to use your company, or I want to use public charities, for example. Okay, I want to do this kind of research. Can I use your charity as a base to test this research? And then through that, you both co-develop ideas, training, resources, and what have you, that can help translate your findings into practices which will help reach wider audiences. And also try to engage communities as well, whether before or even doing your research. It's very important. And remember, community engagement is a two-way process, not just you talking to them, but also you listening to them. It should be your partners and not just passive audiences. And when you engage with this set of people, the industry, the communities, they will help you amplify your reach, your credibility beyond what journal papers, citations can ever help you do. And lastly, women as science communicators. As women, as women, your voice matters. Although we might not have much women in the consumer sector, even in the industry, but every time you communicate your research, you are helping to shape how others see women in leadership, in construction, in engineering, and the built environment. And sometimes some women do experience what we call imposter syndrome. This is an internal feeling that so we are probably a fraud on the summit of achievement. That, oh, what do I know? What impact can I make? How many years do I just finish my PhD? So how many papers have I have? You don't have to have 10 on the paper before you can make an impact. A single paper can make an impact than what an other paper can do. So, but the difference is how you communicate your research. If someone that has on the paper does not communicate his research properly, and you that have one paper can complete your research properly, then you make more impact than such a person. So don't have that imposter syndrome. Don't feel as if you don't deserve your achievement or what you have done, or whether you are not competent enough or you have not done a lot of hard work. No, just complete your research. Don't allow self-doubt, and don't hide behind the blind and say, oh, let me just publish and not talk about this research. Talk about it. People might challenge you, people might ask you questions, just answer it the little you know. And sooner or later, you develop confidence to speak about your work. And by sharing your expertise, you are not just only contributing to policies and practice, but you're also inspiring and mentoring the next generation of women in the profession. Like, oh, this person always talks about his our research, and you are giving that person courage. Sooner or later, when you see more women talk about their research, your own courage will also be amplified, and you have greater visibility than you ever have. And this community or like is a good way for you to share your ideas and communicate and bring your collective voice together, to make it known across the globe. And then last, almost penultimate, I think my penultimate presentation. What are the practical frameworks for effective communication? No matter the audience, this framework will work with any audience. So as I've earlier mentioned, always ask what does my audience need to know? If you don't know, you can ask one or two persons in that field, in that area, or do your research about the company or the person or the council or what have you, about what they know or what they need to know. And then you have to know how you communicate effectively to them. And then always apply these 6 golden rules in every communication. Know your audience. The first one, define who they are before you prepare anything. Know their constituents, their level of understanding, their degree. So if you know that you may need to use technical terms, then avoid jargons. When I mean jargons, I mean high technical language. Use everyday English, but still don't dilute your science. Don't dilute your research. Tell stories, things that they can relate with, they can remember beyond that workshop or conference or what have you. Then use visuals, infographics, diagrams, examples that make the ideas that you are talking about to stick. And then, of course, focus on impact. Remember the so what message. It must always come first. Why it matters. Then, of course, invite dialogue. Don't be afraid that, if they ask questions, I can't answer. Yes, there may be questions might not be able to answer. Let them know, I'll get back to you. I'll do more research about it. I'll get back to you. So nobody is an island of knowledge or understanding. So always invite dialogue. Communication is a conversation, not a lecture. And then for every message, whether to industry, policymakers, even to your students, everyday people, always structure it around these 5 questions. What is the problem? And this will help to set the context of the message. Why does it matter? This helps to establish the relevance of your message. What did you discover? That's the evidence of your research. And why should they care? And that's where you start telling the story or the scenario. And then what should happen next? And this will help you to guide them to take the necessary action. So no matter the presentation, interview, or what have you, once you have this, when you structure your message around these 5 questions, you'll be able to deliver the message in the right way to the right set of people. Remember, your goal is not just to inform them, but to help them to understand it. Then, once they understand it, to help them to engage with it, and then add on your research. So as I close, remember, don't just publish, but will also communicate. Don't just inform, try to inspire them. And don't just generate knowledge, try to create impact. Your research will create its greatest value when people understand it, when they can engage with it and use your research. Science communication is not a natural talent. This person was born with it. No, nobody is born with science communication or how to communicate science or communicate research. It's not something that some researchers have and those others don't. It's a skill. And because it's a skill, it means you can develop it through practice. The more you do it, the better you get by with it. And every time, every day you explain your work to a non-academic audience, maybe to your wife, maybe to your husband, maybe to your friend, maybe to somebody around you. Just try to communicate your research to them and let them try to see whether they understand what you are doing. If they don't understand, go back to that research. Try to think about it. How can I explain better? So with that, you build up that skill to better communicate your research to people around it. So I will leave you with a challenge. In the next 30 days, try to share one of your research beyond the academic circle. It might be to your neighbor, it might be to a family member. Try to tell them about your research and try to see whether they actually understand what you did in that research. Remember, science is not complete until it is communicated. And if your research could improve life, but only experts can understand it, how much of its potential impact remain unrealized? So ask yourself that question and let that spur you to better communicate your research. Thank you very much for having my time. And that's all for me in this section.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much, Doctor, for this enlightening session. In a nutshell, you made us to understand that researchers are trained, we are wired to speak with peers, and if we must communicate our research findings, it takes a different approach altogether. And what you have done is you just laid out those approaches for us. We are very grateful, and thank you for that challenge that you posed at the end of your presentation. We would see how we would drive ourselves to start, communicating our works. Thank you very much. Very soon we'll get into the panel session, but before then, let's quickly take our pictures. Let's quickly have a picture.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, we can hear you.
Thank you, Doc, also for this very insightful lecture. Now, at least a lot of us know how to go about ensuring that there's effective communication through our research. For our photos, I'd like for everyone to turn on their cameras. Thankfully, most of us are here, but it looks like we may have to turn on our cameras and let the camera face you. Okay, so we're still on it. We're taking pictures. Everyone can turn on your camera and then smile nicely. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. We're done. Just
Yeah, thank you so much, Josephine. Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we'll quickly move on to the panel section. We'll now have Dr. Ajayi have the floor. Dr. Ajayi, the floor is now yours. Please go ahead.
All right, fantastic. I think I have a couple of minutes, just a few minutes. However, let me appreciate the organizers for a wonderful time, and then, this quite impressive opportunity for, all the participants, because information is one of the biggest currencies now around the world. I also must appreciate Dr. Timothy for a very impressive presentation. In fact, he's laid the foundation of what I want to talk about. I'm not going to overflog what has been, said already. Actually, my slides share substantial similarities with what he's talked about. So by way of introduction, my name is Oluwaseun, senior lecturer in real estate, investment finance at the Harper Adams University. I've held program leadership roles in other universities, London, in South Africa, Nigeria. And the essence of saying all of this is that, my journey has quite exposed me to what it means to move from publishing for the sake of the shelves into impact. Today, we're experiencing seismic shifts, and the sort of paradigm shift we're in now necessitates that our sector, I would rather call it the built environment sector, that we start to, or if we have started to advance the frontiers by contributing more and impactfully and innovatively to conversations that shape the needs of our cities, of our nations generally. I'll give you quite a few examples that, myself and a couple of collaborators, what we've done, how we've been able to move from just the sake of publishing. As researchers, as academics, even as industry stakeholders, we must move beyond just for ourselves, right? For our promotion, for whatever benefits accrue to us as individuals. And then we must start to look at what issues are globally, what debilitating issues are in the world currently. I'm sure many of you have heard of, like I was saying earlier, this is a conversation that must move or transition beyond self. And I was trying to give an example before I stood up earlier. Many of you are aware of the heat wave that's happening currently in Europe, not just in the UK. and you see that there's a massive gap there. And it calls for reflections. What sort of researchers have we had in the last couple of years? How come no one envisaged that houses, particularly in the UK, would need air conditioning systems or panels? The flooding that's happening around Africa, Lagos, for instance, has anyone envisaged the sort of impacts it will have on insurance, on pricing, on value, on construction materials, and all of that? So it's a time of reflection for each and every one of us. We then need to start to write more, particularly, or rather, I would say, communicate more with impact as our currency. And impact, the metrics for impact, has been earlier discussed. Dr. Timothy earlier talked about them. But let me just, maybe, for the sake of emphasis, the central problem is that knowledge has limited value if it cannot travel, right? And today there are many, like I said earlier regarding the seismic shifts we're experiencing today, there are many funding organizations that are looking for critical thinkers, individuals who are not just publishing, like I have said, for the sake of, publishing. I remember, some of my publications and maybe a couple of years ago, and my dream had always been that one day, organizations like Savills, organizations like Knight Frank, organizations like the RICS would, reach out and ask to write, give them insightful ideas for policy making, policy recalibration, and things like that. Until I started to have, a paradigm shift, a mind shift, understanding that, yeah, we then need to start to have conversations around the topical issues. And I think the other issue that I've seen with most researchers, because I'm a guest editor of a journal, and I've seen quite a lot of submissions, and I begin to wonder why researchers, academics, or even industry people reinvent the wheel. It's a big problem. Today, one of the ways that you can be very impactful, apart from the things that the earlier speaker talked about, is to, approach research from the lens of multiple, you know, multidisciplinary approach. I would like to call it that. For instance, I'm not in construction, but my field is in real estate. And what I can say is that because of the scourge of climate change today, because of the debilitating issues facing the world, real estate is now going through, a somersault. There's quite a lot of issues today, and as a result of that, it has spurred conversations around AI in real estate, climate change in real estate, sustainability, transition to net zero. In fact, today, the biggest conversation today is around risk transfer. And what I did when I moved into the United Kingdom, having understood that, look, I I want to be a global leader, a global thought leader in in my field. I have a mentor who mentored my father, and I always sit down with him. And 45 minutes with my mentor makes me 10 years wiser. And because there's just some sort of conversation, thought-provoking conversations that we always have, which has always spurred me from, the first thing, it helps me to first sit down, try to understand the value markets, let me deviate a little bit. So we must understand that there's a difference between the skills market and the value market. So you can be skilled, talented in writing, but you are writing for the wrong markets, or you are not posting the appropriate solutions to the market where you find yourself. So geographically, we must understand where we are, and the world has become sophisticated. You can be in Africa and be making impact anywhere around the world. You can be in the UK and make impact in Africa. You can be in Asia and make impact in the US. The world has become sophisticated. We have what we call big data today. But the way we calibrate our ideas, leaves much to be desired today. And so what I was saying earlier was that some of us, what we did was to start to think about, because I live in the UK, so I started to think about what big issues are in, the UK market at the moment. What are several stakeholders, having concerns about? And that means that you need to start to read, quality journals, not predatory journals. I moved away from getting my information from TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and because those are subjective platforms. Anyone can say anything. But I began to sit down with practitioners. I began to attend conferences, have real conversations with people that matter. And when I say people that matter, I mean the community. Those are the end of, at the tail end of impact. Because at the end of the day, the true barometer of impact is that what you are reading is touching the lives of those who benefit at the end of the day. That's the true metric of impact. And so, leaving a meeting with Emeritus Professor Andrew Baum, who mentored my father, Emeritus Professor Ajayi, he just says to me, Sheung, these are the issues in the moment. Don't write about this. It will be for yourself. You want to be a global thought leader in your field? Start to write about things that are very crucial, that government will pick up, that the RICS, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, will pick up, and other relevant stakeholders will pick up. And today, I have a material that's going to be, an article that's going to be published by the RICS Land Journal on Thursday, by the grace of God. There is the RICS Construction Journal that you can write and make impact. Recently, also, my team, with me as the lead principal investigator, we won a research grant from the Investment Property Forum. They focus on construction, real estate, climate change, artificial intelligence, and I'm talking about the specifics inherent in these and dynamics of real estate practice and all of that. AI, for instance, the big issues now are about time value of money. How, if I invest £1 today, what will it become in the next couple of days or weeks or months? And so they are thinking about predictability models that will help them predict. And you can do the same in construction. And that was basically what we did for the Investment Property Forum. And I remember, that we produced a 110-page document that was inherent with high-level modeling. We used Python programming. We used some of the latest models. But for them, it was jargons, right? When we sent it to them, we were feeling on top of the world, like, yeah, we've arrived. At the end of the day, there was an email response to say, look, these technical jargons would not be understood by the relevant stakeholders, the lenders, the Barclays Bank, who was ready to pick up our research grant paper. It's online. I can share a link with us maybe at the end of I almost said at the end of the service, but at the end of the session. Lenders, insurance organizations, government parastatals at the local level, they were waiting to, pick up, what we did. So what we did was we used, impressive infographics, and that's one of the things that make many stakeholders look out for. They just want to see, look, what is the issue? Can you carefully and critically substantiate why this is an issue for us, and how have you attempted to solve it? There are three questions I've adopted. They're integrated, and I'll share them with you. They're very simple, but when I break them down, you understand what I'm trying to talk about. Three things lead me to writing for impact. Number one is the what, number two is the why, and number three is the how. And so I need to always articulate what the issue is, right? I think I've spoken about that. It is to hear from most times the concluding remarks of journal papers, top journal papers regarding the concerns of stakeholders. And I move chronologically to why this is an issue, right? And the why there is, so I have my vision board where I start to plot, and then I break down my why. And my why is basically about the urgency of the solving the matter. By, in other words, I'm trying to say these are literature backed consequences. These are community facing consequences if the problem is not solved, right? And apart from that, I substantiate who my stakeholders are. I employ the currency called specificity, and that's a big problem with researchers today, especially early career researchers. So we must be specific. We must understand who our readers, adopters, whoever it is that is going to be affected directly or indirectly by our work. So I articulate who my stakeholders are going to be. Is it government? But again, you see, government is generic. Is it government at the national level? Is it at the state level? Is it at the local level? What sort of policies? Okay, before I speak about that, the government, lenders, which lenders? Are they direct or indirect lenders? Insurance? And then I move again to the other leg, which is the how. How will they actually benefit, right? And once I am able to articulate all of this, how will government benefit? Is it in terms of policy formulation? Is it in terms of policy recalibration? For lenders, or let me speak about insurance, is it for them to withdraw insurance, or is it for them to improve or enhance or increase insurance premium? How exactly will they benefit? And once we're able to articulate all of that, trust me. And then the how, which is the last question. So it has to be done chronologically, the why and the how. And so what I've always done also is to explore critically what others have done in that same field or discipline, right? And how do I then do it better? How do I communicate it better without sounding, academically tardy or bringing up technical jargons? Because at the end of the day, you want impact to find expression, and that's what it is today. So for me, I think what I'm gonna just quickly speak about while I'm going through my PowerPoint, like I've said earlier, sorry, who needs this knowledge? What decisions are they making at the moment? What evidence will they trust? What format will they use? So what decisions are they making? I think I was on that on the point two. So recently, I reached out to Savios. It's they're a giant in the real estate field. I would say generally built environment. They are also involved in construction. And I said to them, look, I've carefully and critically explored what issues are inherent in our sector at the moment. And I have this idea, and I'm thinking that if you take up this idea, you would become a national and even a global leader, a global leader of thought in this. And I told them how exactly they will benefit. And we've had about 4 or 5 meetings, till date. And the framework I developed was the what, the why, and the how. Some of the platforms that offer funding, that would greatly benefit from your framework if you go that route. You have PRT, Property Research Trust. They also get themselves involved with construction, not just real estate, anything around built environment. You have, of course, the construction, the RICS Construction Journal. I don't know if some of us have ever come across that before, but they are quite interested in conversations from emerging markets, but as long as they are built around the three questions I've talked about. Then you have Horizon Europe. Of course, they have their own rules and regulations, but the expectations are always also around, the three questions I talked about. You have UKRI, you have no field grants. These organizations, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because these are organizations that go year to year with, I'm talking about millions of pounds, millions of euros, millions of dollars without anyone tapping into them. And the other metric to impact is fundability of your idea, your research idea. Fundability of your research idea. And that's the level I want us all to get to. Starting to rethink how we think about research ideas. And then I think this has been, spoken about earlier, practical communication formats. Of course, the conventional one everyone is aware of, journal articles, industry toolkits. So that's one way to create impact. And that's one way to carve a niche for yourself. You need to explore what's happening in your field. My field is at the intersection of real estate, data science, and climate change. I already know that every paper, every output from me, from Oluwaseun Ajayi, is around the intersection of data science, how data science explains, analyzes, interprets issues of climate change in real estate. It's as simple as that, right? And so all I do is geared around that. So if I'm approaching an organization, I'm speaking to them from the lens of that intersection. Look, these are the issues I've discovered. So I spoke about rural risk transfer. We were speaking about this to some of the top organizations in the UK. And we said, look, no one is actually talking about the farmer's well-being because there's in my field we have farmland valuation, which is land valuation. No one is talking about the farmer's mental health. No one is talking about rural crime as consequences emanating from the scourge of climate change. Because what's happening right now is that government is now transferring the burden of risk to the rural areas. By implication, I'm saying that flooding is now being pushed, or floods, they are now being pushed into rural areas from urban centers to say, okay, henceforth, lands or farmlands in rural areas should help us hold water. See, that's bad. They're also saying that, okay, because of our move towards net zero, let's start having solar panels, solar windmills on farmlands. And that has, of course, one way or the other, diluted the whole essence of, land value. And so ultimately, if you check that, you see that of course, would have an impact on food security at the end of the day. You see all these dimensions. So we must be aware of what's happening around us. We must attend conferences. This is where I get my information from. So industry toolkits, I then propose to them that I'm going to build them an innovation. I don't want to share my intellectual property here, but I'm going to build an innovation for them. And they're happy, and I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of pounds. Hundreds of thousands of pounds. You also have policy briefs. You have, of course, LinkedIn. I mean, if anyone is connected with me here, they know that I speak quite a lot on LinkedIn. Maybe not in recent times because I get swamped. I've been swamped lately by a lot of marking and but LinkedIn is a platform that is one of the most untapped platforms for your communication or research. I saw someone who one of my professor friends, I've forgotten his name now, but he's from my hometown, Efwalai, and he adopted an approach to publishing and then coming on LinkedIn to do a video and just speak about what he's done. But again, there's a way he communicates it that it serves, the interest of the relevant stakeholders, people that will uptake this work. And the work that we did for IPF, Investment Property Forum, was I actually got invited. Not that I reached out to RICS. The RICS reached out to me. They wrote me an email saying, "Look, we saw that you won an award. The Emeritus Professor Sarah Says Sustainability Research Award. That was last year, December. And that, look, can you write us a piece that land valuers, asset managers, investors, whether individual or institutional, they would like to hear more about this, but from the practical industry-led side of things, beyond just being technical." And I've written that, and that's what I said earlier. It's going to come out on Thursday by grace. So it was supposed to come out last week, but we had to add, a few things to that. I don't want to, bore you with, what has already been said. But again, the Thames estuary lesson. So the Thames, this actually was a policy. All right, fantastic. So as a roundup, this was actually what got us the research grant in 2024. It was 2 years, and they paid for it. So what happened was that, I mean, the TE 2100 policy, Thames Estuary 2100 policy, was a policy developed by the late Queen Elizabeth, I think in 1987. It was for them to, examine the nature of the Thames River. It's a long river that passes through the length and breadth of the UK, and £3 billion worth of assets, along the corridor of this Thames River. And ever since climate change, of course, we've had, rise in sea level, water level. So they've been watching, but over the years, they have not had a sustained or sustainable solution to this. And I discovered that investors, insurers were getting worried because insurance companies were like, do we withdraw? Do we increase our insurance premium? Because market started to react. But again, the problem that we discovered was that there were indicators that were now reshaping how properties along that corridor are being priced, are being invested in, and are being insured in. Gone are the days when you want to value or place estimation on the worth of a land or property or asset when you use comparables. You use the size of the land or the property or the asset, you use the finishing and all of that. But today, there are certain capital currencies, I'll explain that, break that down, that are now reshaping how land or property or assets are being insured in, invested in, managed today. And it's a problem. They are hidden. One is resilience capital, one is biodiversity capital, taxes, transition risk, physical risk dimension of climate change, and so on and so forth. So these were things that myself and my team came up with and wrote, a top-notch, cutting-edge proposal, and it got funded. We finished it, but beyond writing again, we understood our markets, and that was why we had to now bring down the 110-page document to about 39 pages. It was filled with infographics. We had a table of what the problem was, what they should do in the next 3 months, what they should do in the next 6 months, what they should do in the next 12 months, what they should do in the next 5 years, what they should do in the next 10 years. And these recommendations were inherent with the currency called specificity. They knew exactly what they needed to do, right? And that was how we were able to create impact, for this set of people. So research to practice storytelling. My preferred method is a 4-part narrative framework. Finding, the risk, the meaning, the action, and this clearly explains all that I've spoken about. Because of our time, I may not want to go into this, but I think it's high time that we started to transition beyond just writing for the sake of, promotions and maybe self visibility. But now the world, in the words of the earlier speaker, the world actually needs us now. This is a time where we can join them at that table and make meaningful impact through our research, cutting edge research ideas, and then in the science of communication. How do we then communicate this research findings to the stakeholders? Yeah, so that's my time. I think more insights will be beneficial. Usually at the questions and answer period, perhaps the panel, where I would make some more specific or tailored insights to the conversation, right in front of us. And so thank you all for listening to me, and thank you to the organizers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shehu, for that perspective that you brought into it and the practical examples that you used to really enhance our understanding of the subject today. I just want to reiterate something you said in your slide. You said real impact lives in policy offices, industry boardrooms, community halls, newsrooms, places that never open a journal, but desperately need the evidence inside one. Thank you again for your insightful presentation. We'll quickly take, we'll have the third speaker, but because of some issues that happened, she's not able to be on ground now, but we'll just, she has her video here, and I think how her own work is specifically for PG students, how they can, communicate their doctoral thesis, MSc thesis. So I'll just share, it's just about 10 minutes, pardon me. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, good day to all. I hope you are all doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to join this important webinar series. Myself is Maryam Batool from University of Sahiwal, Pakistan, and today my presentation focuses on how postgraduate students can communicate their research findings to the people beyond academia. As postgraduate students, the research should not end only as a thesis, a research paper, or a conference paper. Rather, it should also reach some other communities that it might include industries, policymakers, as well as some beneficiaries, so that they can apply the knowledge in real life situations. So in today's PowerPoint presentation, we are going to discuss how we can go beyond the academia, how we can make our research reachable to other communities as well. So let's get started. So the first and foremost thing that comes into mind is that why postgraduate students need to communicate their research beyond academia. So the simple answer to this question is that the postgraduate research, it often tends to resolve issues that are most relevant to real life problems that include health, environment, education, some housing, sustainability, or else community development. So many of the useful findings from these research projects, they remain inside the university libraries, or they get published in the form of journal, paper, or conference paper. However, when communicating beyond academia, when we do communication beyond our academic universities or journals, it helps to cover the gap between the knowledge and action. So it allows research to influence decisions, improve practice, and definitely the people will also get benefit from the person who have done some important research during their post graduation or graduation studies. Now, many of you are wondering about the main question, that how postgraduate students make their research beneficial to others and who are the intended beneficiaries. So I have listed some of the possible beneficiaries here. So basically, for example, if we consider a construction related study, that study would help benefit contractors, engineers, and architects, as well as housing agencies or policymakers. Same, for example, if you are doing a research project related to water treatment, then this water treatment study, it may benefit environmental agencies, industries, or communities that are affected by polluted water on a daily basis. So this communication becomes effective when we know exactly who the audience is and what they need from the research. So these kind of intended beneficiaries, some of them are listed here. So the target audience and their need, it is important to understand what they want from researchers and what we can provide to them. But the problem don't end here. The real challenge comes when we want to translate our findings to these beneficiaries in the same technical language that we use while writing our thesis or research paper. So basically, beneficiaries, they don't need our technical language. They usually want to know the meaning and usefulness of the findings only. Therefore, it is highly recommended that we need to translate our main research findings into benefits. So here you can see three different types of benefits have been mentioned. The first one is academic finding, the second one is beneficiary message, and the third one is action message. So instead of only referring or focusing on technical language, we need to explain that why this study matters and what will they get in return as a benefit and what action it supports. And this doesn't mean reducing scientific quality. It only helps in making them research findings or the message useful for the intended audience. For example, if you can say, if you are working on any kind of water treatment project, you can write what did I discover. So you can write this material that have been synthesized by this method, it helps in removing this kind of specific pollutant from water. So why does it matter? Because it helps in removal of variety of pollutants from the wastewater. So this is the benefit. And why we need to study this project? We need to be very specific that we have discussed or discovered this project on a lab scale method, and we want to apply it into a industrial or big scale level. And for that we need these kind of materials, and we are hypothesizing here that this material or lab scale study would definitely help in removing the pollutants from wastewater even at industrial scale. So these are some kind of benefits and ways of presenting your research to the intended beneficiaries. So for each type of beneficiaries, you need to modify, you need to format your project according to their requirements. So one format cannot serve every audience. So a journal article is useful for academics only, but not always for other kinds of communities or policymakers. So a policy must be brief, and it would be better if you are going to make your policy intended for government officials. So a workshop may be better for construction workers or any other industry professionals. So you can also make a short video or infographics that may work better for the public audience. And if you want to target some other audience, you can also go for writing the report summary, as well as you can make online workshops that are free for everyone to join. And the overall key or aim of all these communication formats, it should to match the format with the audience and to reach the target or intended beneficiaries. So after selecting the right communication format, we need to be very specific about using the language. That we need to use clear, accurate, and responsible language. And good communication is not about making research bigger than it is, but it is about making it understandable and easy to apply and reliable. So postgraduate students, they need to avoid exaggerating the findings or importance of their study. They need to avoid mentioning unspotted claims in their projects, and it would be better if they can avoid making use of too many technical words that the general audience are unable to understand. So at the same time, we would not remove the scientific meaning, but we can use a clear and accurate language that contains the specific scientific meaning as well. So we should explain results clearly. We can mention the limitations of the study findings in a clear way, so that it will look as a future direction as well. And we can also provide evidence to support our claims and the key findings of the study. So the national academics emphasizes that effective scientific communication, and it would be good if the projects is written in a clear language rather than in an offensive and using too many technical words. So when we are going to the next step of sharing our research, we understand the importance of communication, science communication. So science communication should not only one way. Beneficiaries, they are not empty containers waiting for the information. They have a lot of already data provided to them by different people and different groups. They have experience, they have local knowledge, and also practical concerns. For example, community members, they may understand the local water problems better than researchers. And same way, when we are talking about industrial professionals, they know the practical barriers when they are going to apply a new methods to their industry. So when postgraduate students listen and engage with them, their research become more relevant and more likely to be used by them. Nowadays, postgraduate students, they don't need to wait until they become senior academics or something professional in their field to share their knowledge. Nowadays, the use of AI and digital platforms, they allow everyone to use and to communicate in a effective way, and to like they can create some short LinkedIn post. They can also create 2-minute or 3-minute short videos to explain the research problem, to emphasize their key findings. And they can also create they can also go for promoting free webinars that connect researchers with professionals. And however, if someone is also using some other digital communication platforms, like in the form of blogs or newsletter, they are also effective. And but the main thing while using these digital tools is that the language must be accurate, respectful, and evidence-based. So the simple framework of that concludes the overall findings of this project or communication is that a simple framework that helps the postgraduate students to communicate any research project. It contains 5 simple steps. First, they need to identify the intended beneficiaries. The second step is to choose the most important findings, and the third step is to translate that finding into a clear benefit that is easy to understand by the intended beneficiary or audience. And the fourth step is to select the best communication format. And finally, the fifth and last but not least step is to share the message, listen to the feedback, and try to improve the research findings or the writing skills. And this is how research moves from thesis pages to the real world impact. And to conclude, I would like to say that postgraduate students, they have an important role in making the research visible and useful beyond academia. So our research should not only answer academic questions, but it also need to support people, uh, practice, policy, and society as well. So when we communicate clearly, responsibly, and in using using simple language, while avoiding the use of some technical words, it helps to attract the right beneficiaries and intended audience. So it helps in transforming the research findings into the real world benefit. So thank you very much for listening out to me. If you have any kind of question, please don't hesitate to ask. I would be very happy to answer any question. And thanks a lot for allowing me the opportunity to speak at this platform. And I would like to thanks the organizer of this webinar, and also the overall chair of WAIC. And thanks a lot. Stay blessed forever. Bye bye.
That was Miriam's presentation. She's specifically addressing the PG students, how PG students can also take advantage of these science communication to make their work more impactful. At this time, the floor is open for questions and comments. Sorry, our time is fast spent, but let's just have a few comments and questions. We have a comment on the chat. Maybe we'll just start with that, a question actually. What all the speakers are saying makes so much good sense. Professional organizations like RICS do solicit publications, but academics and academic leadership are obsessed with publishing in traditional academic journals, ideally Q1 journals. Perhaps they think that helps university rankings and promotions. Are this academic leadership here listening to your sensible ideas? How do we transform these leaders to take action, heeding your good advice? Yeah, so the question is for any of the, okay, but allow me, okay, it's fine.
Take this question. Yeah, so I believe that you can only change what you have the capacity, authority to change. Academic leadership, they are more like administrators. You might be saying, oh, this person was a professor, he complained about this when he was in that place, but they are administrators. So they look at how money will come in, how they can use that to get better position elsewhere, maybe be a vice chancellor elsewhere or be a minister elsewhere. So they are more an administrator than what they have before as a professor or academics. So as I've earlier mentioned, we might not be able to influence the university administrators or social administrators as regarding publishing or getting citations or what have you. But what we can do, in fact, is we can use one stone to kill two birds. You have a research, you want to publish it. It's still lingering in the publication pipeline, waiting to be published. And while you are waiting for it to publish 6 months, 1 month, you are out there talking about your research. So by the time it's published, you are not just having a paper, you are able to talk about the impact of that paper in society if you want to talk about a promotion. So you have a paper, and we have to talk about, oh, this paper is not just a paper, but that's able to influence this policy, that's able to influence this company. And you see, you use one stone to kill two birds. So while I'm waiting for, oh, let's paper be published before I talk about it, and then give them what they want. They want papers, give them. They want citation, get the work in top journals and give them. And then you two have what you want. You want to make impact, and then you have that. And then it's like, give what Caesar to Caesars, give what God to God. So give what they want to them, and do all you can to complete your research and get it, make the impact, because the impact will be more in your name. Although the papers also be in your name, but apart from academics or maybe some people in the industry, nobody else will it. You understand? So make more impact beyond the academic circles. So that's how I'll just answer that question. And also, before I close it, when you also get to that position in the near future, don't be an administrator. make the changes in how things are done in your institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ajayi, do you have a response, or should we move to the second comment?
Okay. All right. So for me, I would not say that I'm not going to ask universities to abandon Q1, journals or top journals or whatever the case is. I think that would be naive, because Q1 journals, they still, protect, the currency of rigor, peer review, and also what I call scholarly reputation. What I've always advocated for has always been that for universities to stop pretending that journals or journal publication is the only final destination of knowledge or of impact, right? It is not. I think for the sake of saying, it's only a validation stage, right? So after validation, the evidence, what you have produced, has to travel. And so for the next generation of academic leaders, of course, the ones that are there currently, they will go one day, right? You and I are the ones that will take over in terms of policy and things like that. And so what we must do going forward is we must then begin to ask two questions. Where is the scholarly contribution? Where is the adoption pathway? Those two questions are very key. If a paper on construction safety never reaches maybe a contractor, if a paper on housing never reaches policymakers, then what we have simply used is knowledge, not necessarily value. At the end of the day, so let's just be clear about I'm clear about that. The future is not anti-journal, but post-journal. Post-journal. Publish rigorously, yes. And then from publications, the message is to then translate deliberately. And that's how universities can remain excellent and useful at the same time.
Thank you very much, Doctor. There's another quick follow-up question. Typically, academics spend much time and money doing research and writing papers. When they are published in high-impact journals, sometimes the academics have to pay to get their brilliant work published. Then the academic institutions pay large sums to subscribe to these top journals. Often these papers are not even read by people in the industry because industry do not subscribe to these expensive journals. So is there any move to try and stop this vicious circle?
I don't know. For example, my institution, once you publish a paper, you must submit the final accepted manuscript, we call it FAM, in the institution repository. So if anybody is to search the paper, he can download that Word document that was accepted. So not the finished paper. The finished paper is just a polished version of the accepted version. So it's a way you can't stop that because everyone is benefiting from the system. The publishers, and even this model has even gone to the news media. Some news will tell you how to pay to access some news nowadays. So it seems as if it's a subscription model that everyone is now putting up. So to stop the cycle, I don't know how that can be done. But what we can do is provide our preprint, the website that allows preprint, and if your institution allows you to upload a final accepted version, or you yourself can even host it. You can have a website. You don't have to pay. There's websites like Google Sites, for example, that allow you to host. You don't need to know how to code the website. You can put your website there, or you can put it on LinkedIn, the what version, or even on ResearchGate. In fact, ResearchGate it's very easy. Just upload
Yes, Dr. Ajayi, do you want to respond to that? You
Okay.
also want to contribute?
Okay, so I know that at the moment there's a move. I mean, I'll speak about lived experience. So I know there's a move, but it's yet complete, and the system is changing. Maybe, maybe not evenly, but I know the system is changing. So we agree that the old model is very painful, where you have to do research, review papers for free, and you pay APC, article processing charges, and then maybe your university. And it's quite sad, even if, let's say, your university doesn't have subscription fees, all in the name for few people to read your work. And industries outside that wall. So even the people that could absolutely pick up your innovative ideas or substantially or potentially impactful work, so that they could even see it. But at the end of the day, we agree that most of the end product users don't eventually see it. And one conversation, because I'm quite close to the senior management team, the deputy vice chancellors, the pro vice chancellors. I'm quite close to them because I'm quite a voice at my university. And what I've said is that, look, universities must start to use their repositories. Universities must have right retention policies with journals. They must also get into transformative agreements, and I think it's starting to happen. I know that with some of the universities in the United Kingdom, they are doing that, but in Africa now, where we all come from, I think again, it's now up to the leadership. They should, and I hope they are doing that. If I'm vice chancellor, which I'm praying to be, but one day and soon by God's grace, is to have community or conversations with members of staff so that we discuss these issues. They are very, very big. I mean, I wrote a paper, top paper, and it was to be published in the Journal of Flood Risk Management, a Q1 journal. So eventually, my university, after all the reviews and my university said, "Oh, well, we're very sorry, we don't have the money for APC," and that was, mentally, you know, it was mentally damaging. Let me put it that way. So the moves that started to happen after that, because they were seeing that academics will get discouraged at a point, and what's happening at the moment, even in the UK, is that many universities are now having a financial shortfall ever since the all this funny and nonsense immigration policy. So they are now having to shift to research and have like a diversified funding route now, maybe from research grants for funding, not no longer from fees. So what they're trying to do now is to have open access mandates. They are demanding for open access mandates. I think the second thing that universities are doing is to okay, I think I said it earlier. They are requiring conference contributions to be made, also open access to be eligible for submission, also to journals. So at the end of the day, it's a continuous conversation that is happening at the moment. I believe that we're going to get there, but definitely I can tell you that there's a move, because I've had experience across many universities, Nigeria, Bafemelo University. I was at the Wits University in South Africa. I was at the University of Regensburg in Germany. and then about 3 or 4 universities in the UK now. So I know I've been at those rooms where conversations of this nature has taken place, and trust me, there are moves ongoing.
Very much. We have one more question here. So this question says, many thanks to all presenters. My question is, at what point do we communicate our findings outside journals and conferences? Given that in publishing, you have to ensure that such has not been previously published in any form, in other platforms. Another part of it is the plagiarism check. If you post your findings, say on LinkedIn before publication in journals, and that is being highlighted as plagiarized, and then increases your report, your similarity index, which now may deter you from being able to publish. So she's just saying, I think it's the form, maybe the format in which we we share this. Yes, Dr. Olawumi, you're muted.
Nowadays, it's now acceptable to have preprints. So as long as the preprint is in your name, it is acceptable. And talk about communicating our findings. Sometimes it's not even after your research is out. Nowadays, if you get on the project, as part of your project, you might be doing some code design workshops or focus groups in which you invite people from outside, whether professionals, policymakers, what have you, to discuss an idea, to drop something together or framework together, what have you. You are already communicating your ideas, although your findings is not yet out, but because both of you are working together as part of a project, invite them, you're already communicating your ideas. So it's not only when you have the findings, but in the process of getting your findings, communicating with them, telling them, or after you have the findings, you go out for validation of the findings with them. You're already communicating the ideas. So the communication is not until you have the final output. It starts from when you start the research, and then you think that, okay, I think I will need the input of this set of people in order to make it all inclusive, all encompassing. So that's when you start your communication. The moment you think, I need to bring this person in, or I need to bring this set of audiences in, that's when you start your communication of your research. So talking about publishing on LinkedIn and all these social medias, as long as it's in your name, I don't think it will come up. Probably in as a plagiarism or what have you, because even if they turn a thing or what have you, pick it up, they do put the link, as to where the source is. And if the source is in your name or in a preprint, it will be ignored. That okay, this person is talking about the project they work on. Because, for example, you might work on the project and in which, as part of the research, probably the funder publish the guidance we prepared during the research, and the guidance is online, and the turn it in what have you, we get the guidance, you have no control over that. So you can justify that okay, this work has been published in the guidance, maybe part of acknowledgement or what have you as part of the paper, so that if it's caught up by the Eternity or the plagiarism checker software, it won't lead to your paper being rejected. So these are some of the ways you can reduce that chances of a work being highlighted for plagiarism. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ajayi, any words, any thoughts on that?
No. He said it.
Great. I don't know if you have any last comments from anyone or any final question before we just, as we begin to round up. Okay, I believe we've come full circle. I just want to use this time to really appreciate our speakers for this enlightening presentation today. We are really grateful. We will have the vote of thanks now. Doc, thank you. Yes, Dr. Tarusha, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Pat. So, very good afternoon to all of you. Greetings from Sri Lanka. So, on behalf of Mike, it's my great pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks at the conclusion of this today's inspiring webinar session. So, I'm not going to take that much of time as we have already run out of our allocated time. So, first and foremost, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Timothy Olawumi from Edinburgh Napier University, UK, for delivering such an insightful and thought-provoking presentation. So, of course, without any doubt, your expertise and practical perspectives have reminded us that impactful research is not only about generating knowledge, but also about communicating it effectively to society, policymakers, and also, of course, the global research community. So, then our heartfelt appreciation needs to be given to the esteemed panelists. So, first and foremost, of course, I wanted to give my heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Oluwaseun Ajayi. I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing your names. Representing Harper Dams University, UK, and also Miss Maryam Batool, University of Sahiwal, Pakistan. So, for enriching today's discussion with your valuable insights as well as some diverse perspectives. So, of course, your contributions have certainly deepened our understanding of the importance of science communication in today's interconnected world. So, of course, highly grateful for your time despite of your busy schedules. And also, I would like to sincerely thank Dr. Patience for the warm welcome, as well as Dr. Chioma Ekwani for the opening remarks, as well as Dr. Nomkyo Kubeka. Of course, she was unable to join with us today, and also Josephine Eninful for capturing today's memorable moments. So, thank you very much for contributing greatly to the success of this webinar. And also, a special word of appreciation goes to all participants who join us from different countries around the world. So, your active participation, thoughtful questions, as well as engagement made today's sessions truly interactive and meaningful. So, thank you very much once again. And also, we look forward to welcoming you to our future WIC webinars as well. So, have a wonderful day and stay safe. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Pat.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tarusha, for the beautiful vote of thanks. And to everyone again, thank you for joining. And let me just add my voice again to appreciate the speakers. Dr. Olawumi, we're grateful. And Dr. Ajayi, thank you so much for your time. And we would be looking forward to next month's webinar. We would share the webinar details through our normal channels, and we hope to see you at our next month's webinar. So do enjoy the remaining part of the evening. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.